Hey everyone, welcome to the Period Party. I'm Nicole.
Hi everyone, I'm Nat.
And on this episode, we're talking about the profound physical and mental benefits of meditation with Emily Fletcher, the founder of Ziva Meditation and creator of Ziva Mind, the world's first online meditation training. Emily's 10 years of training began in Rishikesh, India, and she was inspired to share this practice with others after experiencing the incredible benefits it provided her during her career on Broadway, which included roles in Chicago, The Producers, and A Chorus Line. Now regarded as one of the leading experts in meditation, Emily has helped over 3,500 high performers integrate this practice into their fast-paced modern lives. Emily has been invited to teach at innovative organizations like Google, Barclays Bank, Viacom, Relativity Media, Sweetgreen, Awesomeness Fest, Summit Series, and the Omega Center. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Thank you for having me. I'm just going to bring you with me everywhere I go. I'll be like, this is Emily Fletcher, and here's her bio. It's a real ego boost.
I know. I was like, wow, I can't believe I read that whole thing so perfectly.
I know. Bravo.
It's always kind of terrifying. You never know. Anyways, I want to just jump right in and ask you how you transitioned from being a Broadway performer to a meditation teacher. What happened there?
So I was on Broadway for 10 years and I loved it. It's a thing I wanted to do my whole life. And then cut to, I was doing a chorus line, which is like, you know, the gold leotards and the high kicking. And I was understudying.
I've seen your high kicks. They're impressive.
Thank you. Not too shabby for 37. But I was understudying 3 of the lead roles, which basically means that you show up to the theater and you have no idea which character you're going to play that night. And sometimes I would start as one character and halfway through the show, they'd switch me to a different one. Or I would just be chilling in my dressing room doing my taxes and someone would get on a loudspeaker and say, Emily Fletcher, we need you on stage.
Oh, not stressful at all.
Yeah, not at all.
My goodness.
I would die.
That is intense.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, you know, those nightmare dreams that performers have? Like that was my life for a year.
Oh my gosh, that's full on.
Yeah, so I found myself like, like having basically panic attacks, like listening to Eckhart Tolle on repeat, rocking myself in fetal position underneath my dressing room table. And I started having insomnia for about 18 months. I started going gray at 27 years old. I started getting sick. I started getting injured. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, why am I living my dream and I'm miserable? And thankfully, this girl was sitting next to me in the dressing room, and she had an even harder job than I did, but this woman was nailing it. I mean, every dance she did was a celebration. Every song she sang, she was celebrating. Every bite of food, she'd be like, oh, this is sensational. She was Australian, so Nat, you can judge my Australian accent.
Of course she was. Of course she was.
I know. And at first I just assumed, I'm like, oh, you're just Australian. Like all Aussies are happy. Yeah. And then she was like, no, actually I meditate. And I was like, come on, right? So this is 10 years ago. So there wasn't as much neuroscience out then as there is now. And no one was really talking about it then. So anyway, long story short, I went to this intro to meditation talk. I liked what I heard. I signed up for this 4-day course. And the first day of the first course, I was meditating. To be honest, I had no idea what that meant, but I was in a different state of consciousness than I had ever been in before, and I liked it. And then that night, I slept through the night for the first time in 18 months, and I have every night since, and that was 10 years ago.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it literally cured my insomnia on the first day.
Wow.
There's not many things that you can do that have such an instant effect.
Yeah. And then, go ahead.
No, I was going to say even drugs and medication, I mean, maybe something like a headache, I guess you could take a pain reliever. But for something like insomnia to actually have a long-term sustainable effect, but something the instant is incredible.
Yeah. And honestly, if that's the only thing meditation had ever done for me, it would have been worth it. But then what was crazy is that all these other things started changing. Like I stopped getting sick. I stopped getting injured. I stopped going gray. I'm 37 now and I have like 2 gray hairs. I was legitimately going gray a decade ago, which is crazy. And now, I mean, we can talk about this later, but there's a bunch of neuroscience out now talking about how meditation can reverse body age and how it lengthens your telomeres, which is the thing that encases your DNA. But basically, it improved my performance and my life so dramatically that I really felt inspired and compelled to be able to share it with others. So I left Broadway. I went to India. I started what became a 3-year process to teach this. And then I opened up Ziva meditation here in New York about 5 years ago, and it's been the best thing I've ever done. It's so rewarding to get to share. I feel like I get to use my lifetime of performance training, but now I get to help other people. And it's really gratifying to wake up to emails from people saying, my insomnia is gone, or I haven't had panic attacks in 3 months, or I got off my meds, or I started writing that book, or I stopped drinking so much. And it's really beautiful to watch the ripple effect of health that happens to people when they get a powerful stress relieving tool in an everyday practice.
I love how passionate you are about it. It's like, I just want to meditate with you now.
Great. Let's do it.
How did the name Ziva come about? I'm interested to learn, because I wanted to ask you this last time I met you and I was like, forgot. So
Ziva is a Sanskrit word that means bliss. And it's also a Hebrew name that means one who is radiant or kind. And since bliss, radiance, and kindness are very common side effects of meditation, I thought it'd be a good name. Plus, it looks excellent on a tote bag. We've got these really amazing, rose gold tote bags that I'm crushing on right now.
That should have been the first point of, it looks good on the tote.
That's all that matters.
And so you've created Ziva Mind. What is Ziva Mind?
So Ziva Mind was the world's first online meditation training, and it actually teaches you how to meditate on your own so that you have a self-sufficient practice that you can do anywhere, anytime without me. But it's an 8-day training. It's about 30 minutes a day for 8 consecutive days. And each day's training builds upon the previous day's training. And I made it because I taught a few thousand people to meditate in New York and LA, and they were like, Emily, this is amazing. It's changed my life. I want to share this with my cousin in Idaho. I want to share this with my aunt who's in Brazil. What about my grandma in Paris? And, obviously I can't be in all places at all times. And so I thought, this stuff is too good for people to be living in stress. Like, this technique is too powerful and it made me sad for people that didn't have access to a teacher. And it was just about the time that technology was speeding up enough, and online courses were becoming a thing. And so I decided to make it. And to be honest, it was a bit of an experiment. We didn't know if you could learn meditation online or not. And to be honest, it's definitely better to learn face-to-face. Like, nothing takes the place of that face-to-face interaction, and being in the room is delicious. But turns out the experiment worked, and people's lives are changing, and their insomnia is going away, and their stress is being reduced, and their anxiety and their depression is lessening. And we've had a few thousand people move through the training, and 4,000 people more signed up this week. We're in the middle of this big launch, which is exciting. So it's been really rewarding to get to see people in China and Russia and Japan and Colombia and Brazil who there aren't that many teachers there. So it's cool to get to see this happening.
That is so incredible. Did you say you've had 4,000 more people sign up for the training? That's so amazing.
Well, what we're doing right now is we're doing an online masterclass, a free online masterclass. And we've had 4,000 people sign up for that. So I don't know how many of those are going to decide to join Ziva Mind. So hopefully all of them, but I guess I should have been more specific, but they're joining. We have this thing called stress less, accomplish more. So that's what people have signed up for this week.
Wow. That is a huge accomplishment.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Celebration.
Thank you.
I'm really curious about your style of meditation, how you teach it, why it's different from other types.
Sure. So I think when most people hear the word meditation, what they think about is clearing their mind, or they think that they have to focus, or they think they have to move to a cave and stop drinking Jack Daniels and stop having sex with people, and that's all fine. But there's thousands of different styles of meditation. Most of them fall under one of two umbrellas. I like to keep it really simple and just categorize them as a directed focus style of meditation. And then there's what I teach, which is more of the busy man's meditation, or even I like to call it the lazy man's meditation. And so a directed focus style of meditation is more like mindfulness. So when most people hear the word meditation, probably what they're really thinking of is mindfulness, which is basically the art of bringing your awareness into the now. Right, it's the art of bringing your awareness into this moment, which is basically being present, which is incredibly beautiful and very powerful, but it's more of a waking state practice, right? Whereas what I teach you're actually inducing a verifiable fourth state of consciousness, and you're moving beyond waking, beyond sleeping, and beyond dreaming. And in this verifiable fourth state of consciousness, your right and left hemispheres of your brain are functioning in unison, which is different than waking, sleeping, or dreaming. And over time, it starts to increase your neuroplasticity, and it starts to strengthen the size of the corpus callosum, which is the thin white strip that actually connects the right and left hemispheres of the brain, which might not sound that exciting. It's like, yeah, cool party trick, but why would I want a fat corpus callosum? And
I was just thinking you're smart and funny.
Oh, thank you. But I actually think that everybody does want a fat corpus callosum, because it quite literally is the bridge between the critical mind and the creative mind, right? Like, it's the bridge between the past and the future and the present moment. And so the thicker it is, the easier it is for you to be in the middle of a high demand, high stress situation, and simultaneously having access to creative problem solving ideas. You know how if you get into like a fight with your partner and it starts to get pretty heated, and then eventually you like start crying, or you shut down, or you like retreat to the bedroom. And then about 2 hours later, once you calm down, you start thinking of all these hilarious, witty comebacks, and you're like, why? Why couldn't I have thought of that in the moment? So my hypothesis is that the thicker your corpus callosum is, the easier it is for you to come up with all those amazing ideas when it's go time, when it counts. So really, like, what we're up to at Ziva, we're all about meditation for better performance, right? And so I believe we meditate to get good at life. So we do this practice. It's every day, twice a day. And you wake up, you brush your teeth, and then you sit down and you do this meditation thing on your own. I train you to be self-sufficient, and you sit down and you start giving your body rest that's 5 times deeper than sleep. And that's not an insignificant point, because when you give your body that deep rest, it knows how to heal itself. And one of the things that it heals itself from is stress. And as you guys know, I'm sure, when your body is too stressed over time, like, it starts to mess everything else up. Like, your adrenals get fatigued, your hormones get out of balance, and it can really wreak havoc on all other areas of your body. So it's basically like you wake up, you give your body this deep rest, and then you flood your brain with dopamine and serotonin, which are bliss chemicals, which feel amazing. And then you get to go through your day like delivering bliss and fulfillment instead of delivering stress and anxiety.
Wow. I know. Yeah. I can just picture that. I feel like I'd be wearing like a long white gown and a crown.
That's kind of what it feels like you have a little tiara on.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're talking about this, is it a guided meditation? I might have missed you saying that. I'm not sure.
No, all good. It's not a guided meditation. It's actually what I do at Ziva. Like, if people learn with me face to face, the course is 2 hours a day for 4 consecutive days. And then at the end of that, they have the keys to the car and they have the driving instructions, and they know how to do this thing on their own. They could do it on a bus, on a plane, on a train, in Times Square. Like, you don't need any apps or guidance or finger symbols. Like, all you need is a chair. And I really like that, because I believe that any teaching worth its salt is something that makes you self-sufficient. And so once you have it, you're basically just sitting down, closing your eyes, and you're utilizing the techniques that I teach you during the course. But it's not guided.
Okay. So tell me, obviously we're talking about the period party. So I'm thinking about how meditation impacts women specifically, because that's, of course, our audience. And I was wondering if you could speak to that, if you had any insight into how we can help our lady troubles with meditation.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll speak from firsthand experience first, and then I teach. I'd say about 60 to 70% of my students are women, but I'll tell you my own experience to start. I used to have pretty intense PMS. Like, it was like 3 to 4 days of like, whoa, I'm exhausted. I'm very emotional. I'm very quick to anger. I'm having cramps, and it wasn't like I wasn't in bed. Like, I know that some people have it worse than I did. It wasn't debilitating, but it cost me a lot. And it was really hard to move through. And I used to have like fights. Like, I would just basically schedule 3 days I was going to fight with my boyfriend. And I just knew that. And now I still get angry at my husband, and I like look at him, he says something, and I'm like, I want to punch you in the face. And then we're immediately laughing about it. So it like went from like a 3-day phenomenon to like a 30-second phenomenon.
That's a huge deal.
Like I still get angry. I just move through it like 1,000 times faster, and I'm not as exhausted anymore. So I think that, and one of my Ayurvedic practitioners framed PMS for me. He said, PMS is like your monthly report card. It's like each month your body kind of tells on you and it checks in on you. And it's like, hey, if you've been, exhausted and burning the candle at both ends and eating a bunch of sugar and drinking a bunch and eating crappy food, then your PMS is probably going to punch you in the face. And so that was, even though it's not, we don't like that. We don't like to think that, oh, wait, I'm actually accountable for everything that's going on in my body. It helped me to reframe that as a check-in. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, actually, I was kind of out of balance this week, and I can feel that in my period this month versus, you know what, I really prioritize my self-care and my rest and my exercise and my meditation, and this PMS is not that intense. So that's been an interesting reframe for me, and meditation has certainly helped. I used to be on adrenal medicine, like it was called Adricet, and it was because my adrenals were totally shot at the tender age of 26. And yes. Now I'm not on any of that stuff anymore. Like my adrenals have just sort of healed themselves. So that's been big.
That's huge. Are you kidding me? I feel like everybody's trying to support their adrenals in some way or another, and they're on like a million different supplements to do that. So the fact that you aren't doing that at all anymore is a really big deal.
Yeah. And it happened fast. Like it happened within the first year. I was able to get off of it. And I also stopped seeing my therapist. Like I wouldn't recommend this. Like I don't say this, but for me personally, I had been seeing this therapist for about 6 or 7 years, and I was actually training to teach his style. And then, and I found meditation, and like a year in, I was like, hey, I don't really know what this person would have to say to me that I don't already feel like I know. And either he did a really great job, or the meditation just helped me to be more in touch with myself and kind of move through, the lifetime of stuff that we all have to deal with. Yeah, some combination of the two. Yeah. I like to think about it like software, hardware. And then the other thing that's happened for me is my relationships are much, much better. Like I wasn't in... I don't want to use this term too loosely, but I wasn't in like abusive relationships, but they were just like so dramatic. Like it was just like fighting all the time. And like we were looking to each other for like validation and like excitement somehow. And now I'm in this really beautiful, supportive, very adult, a little bit boring marriage. You know what I mean? And it's like so amazing. And it's like we find comfort in each other and respite in each other. And there's a lot of respect there. And I don't feel like as angry or like I need to fight anymore, which I really felt like the meditation helped with that. And then the last thing, and I know this is not exclusively women, but I didn't have an eating disorder, but I didn't not have an eating disorder. Like I was a dancer since I was 8 years old. I moved to New York to model when I was 15, and I got sent home because I was too fat. And so like I had all this like lifetime of like being in a leotard my whole life in front of a mirror. And so I just had like this relationship with food where everything I ate, I was like, oh, is this going to make me more attractive or less attractive? It was this constant tallying and math equation going on in the back of my head. And I didn't even notice when that went away. It wasn't probably till like a few years in, but I just realized like, wait, that whole conversation is gone. Like I just eat when I'm hungry, and I eat food that I want to eat, and I'm able to eat more intuitively because my body's telling me what it wants instead of constantly being in this fight or flight stress reaction. Because when you're in fight or flight, basically you're fighting 10 million years of evolution, and your body's telling you to feed on, fight, and the other F word, everything that you can see. It's like you got to survive. And meditation is the most powerful and fastest thing I know to get you out of fight or flight and into stay and play. So like the ripple effect of that has been really extraordinary.
So really, the only part of your body that actually is fat is your corpus callosum.
That's definitely gotten fatter.
I was just going to say,
fat. You want that fat.
Yeah.
No kidding. There's no other part, for sure. And we know this because we know you. Okay, seriously, I feel like what you were just saying, all of those points were really profound. But what I think would resonate so much with younger women in our crazy distorted society around body image is what you're describing about now being more intuitive around your food choices and just eating when you're hungry and not being crazy around food, basically.
Yeah, it's exhausting, right? Like if you have an abusive relationship with food where you're like, every time you see a cookie, you're like, oh my God, I want that cookie. Because if you're stressed, then anytime you see fat or sugar, your body's going to be like, hey, you need that to survive. If you're stressed, you're in survival mode. And so that's why after like a hard day, if you're sad or if your adrenals are fatigued, you're like, I just want like so much, I just want ice cream, because that's like the trifecta, right? It's sugar and fat. And, 100 years ago, it was very hard to find sugar and fat. You had to if you want to make a cake, it took 4 hours,
Yeah. Can't really address those cravings right away. No quick fixes.
Yeah. And now we have so much access to it so that if you're stressed, you're constantly craving that stuff. And then you're exhausting your willpower, right? Because you're like, eat the cookie. You're like, don't eat the cookie. That's going to make you fat. But I want the cookie because I'm stressed. It'll make me feel better. No, don't eat it because it'll make you fat. And then you just have this exhausting battle going on in your brain. And think about all that energy that you could be using to write your book or start a company or be a better parent or, be a better boss. It's like, who wants to spend that energy fighting with yourself about food?
Yeah, I agree. I've been exploring this idea a lot lately and talking about it with lots of people. And I think it's quite profound the way that we approach it and how, we can eat the cookie as long as we don't regret eating the cookie.
Yeah, eat it. And if you eat it, have so much joy. Let go of the guilt.
Yes,
it's just the thing I don't want people in is just exhausting their willpower, having that fight all day about it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you want it, then eat it.
And for the right reasons, totally.
Yeah.
I've got a question that I'd love to explore slightly, not slightly, but is about children and meditation. I get asked this question a lot, and people say, when is it time to start with your children? How can we teach our children to be more mindful? Because I actually think that's going to change the game moving forward. I think we have to do this for the sake of our sanity. But I would love your thoughts on that and what you could do or how you can sort of dumb it down for kids.
Yeah, great question. So actually what I've found is that you don't need to dumb it down for kids because they're so much smarter than we are. They're so much more intuitive and they're so much closer to that source energy. We do a full scholarship for kids here at Ziva. So people who've already learned, they can come and bring their kids. And next year we're hoping to do an actual Ziva Kids, an online meditation training specifically for children, and I'm doing this not because I'm the master of it, because I don't even have kids, but I just see that there's such a need for it. People ask me all the time as well. So a couple of suggestions. One, I would say that if you are meditating, I would definitely tell your kids about it. I would say hey, mommy's going to take some me time. Mommy's going to go meditate. Or if they're Star Wars fans, you can say mommy's going to train to be a Jedi Knight. And I would say put it in terms that they can understand, And then I recommend that and tell them, look, if there's bones or blood, then please interrupt mommy's meditation. But if there's no bones or no blood, then it can wait the 10 minutes or the 5 minutes that I have left. And know that if you start in the first few days, your kids are going to test you. They're going to be mom, 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 and they're going to try and get your attention. They're going to be confused why you're sitting down and not paying attention to them. So I'd say even if your meditation sucks and even if it's so annoying, if you're starting a practice for the first few days, just stick with it and don't open your eyes, don't come out of it, because you got to train them just like you're training yourself. And so I'd say, if you want your kids to meditate, best thing you can do is lead by example and you start meditating first, because the less stressed you are, the happier they're going to be. They feel that stuff. And then eventually they'll get curious about it and they'll be like, hey, can I sit with you? Or, what are you doing? And then when they get curious, I would absolutely invite them to sit with you. And once you have a practice, it's much easier for them to kind of fall into it with you. And I would recommend, I'd say starting with 4 or 5 minutes. And I'd say around ages 4 or 5 would be as early as you'd want to start. And you could just have them use the word one, almost like a mantra. You can have them repeat this in their mind for about 5 minutes and give them full permission to if they want to lie down, they can lie down. If they want to move, they can move. If they want to, don't make them feel like they're in jail or that they can't, they have to be a frozen statue. And the other thing is that I would say let them come to it. If you give them some tips and some tricks, just let them do it when they want to. Don't be you have to do this every day, or treat it like a game or something to look forward to, not a punishment. You have to do your meditation before you have breakfast.
Yeah, amazing. I don't know what it's like in the US, but in Australia, a lot of schools integrate meditation now, which I think is fabulous. Geordie calls it relaxation, although he can't say his R's. Oh, sorry. Yeah, he can't say his R's. So he calls it wee-waxlation. But that's and then he'll say to me, Mummy, are we going to go and do our wee-waxation? I'm like, yeah, mate, we're going to do it. But they do it at school as well. So at kinder, which is 4 years and up, they do it here, and then Livy does it at school. She's 8. So I think it's then there's lots of ways, obviously, that they can do it. But I think it's also a great thing that you can integrate in to not just what they're doing at school, but at home as well for lots of parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one book that's more of a mindfulness book, which is different than what I teach, but it's called Sit Still Like a Frog. And that's for kids, which might be a fun resource. And I think there's like a CD or a DVD that goes along with it. Mm-hmm. And there's also, I've just seen, I think it's the Kickstarter campaign, but there's this really adorable thing called Mediteddy. And it's this like teddy bear with long legs and really bendy legs. And he's wearing yoga pants and his eyes are closed. And he has like 20,000 Facebook or Instagram followers. But he's like, he's always like meditating and doing yoga in these hilarious positions. So that might be a fun, like if it's, young kid, you get them a Mediteddy.
Oh,
that's
I love
so
that.
cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of all of that and just improving our mental state, I think that productivity, Nat and I were actually just talking about this before we jumped on the radio show, but productivity, like how does meditation improve that?
Okay, so this is big, right? Because our whole mission at Ziva is to like rebrand meditation as a productivity tool and to really focus on meditation for better performance. And a lot of people, the number one thing I hear, or like the number one excuse I hear that people say, I'm too busy to meditate. I'm too busy to meditate and I'm too busy to take the course. And what people are really saying is that I don't know how to meditate, right? Because like, why would you prioritize something that you don't know how to do? And if you're too busy to take a course, like I just say, like you either like make it a priority or not. But once people understand that when you're meditating, you're actually improving your cognitive function. And like this is our brain that we're talking about. Okay, so your brain is responsible for every single decision you make. It's responsible for every single cell that gets produced and generated by the body. So it's like for someone to say I'm too busy to meditate, that would be like, I'm too busy to go to the gas station, but I'm driving my car and my car is on empty, but I'm too busy to stop and get gas. Like it doesn't make any sense because eventually you're going to run out of gas and then you're going to have to call AAA or you're going to have to go and get a gas can and it's going to just cost you more time. So if you think about your brain like a computer, okay, and let's say you're at work and you're typing an email and you're like, I'm going to take a break. And you open up Facebook for a minute and then you open up Twitter and then you open up Snapchat and Instagram and Vine. And let's just say for the sake of argument that you open up 10 million windows. And then you're like, maybe I should get back to work. And then you go back to type that email and your cursor is 20 spaces behind. And you're like, stupid computer, can't even type an email. Well, your computer is plenty capable of typing one email, but if you're using all of your computing power and battery power to run those 10 million open windows, then you're going to be much slower at the task at hand. And so what meditation does is through that deep rest, through accessing that verifiable fourth state of consciousnness and a de-excitation of the nervous system, you actually go in and close down all of those 10 million windows that we've all been accumulating by the time we're age 20. We have about 10 million PCCs or precognitive commitments, which is basically like an open window keeping you from being fully present in the right now. And then the beautiful thing that happens is that day by day, meditation by meditation, as you start to close down that lifetime of stressors, that lifetime of open windows, you start to have more and more computing power and battery power for the task at hand, for the present moment. And that combined with the simultaneity of the right and left hemispheres of the brain functioning in unison. And this is why most of the world's like high achievers are meditators. You know what I mean? Like it is a productivity tool. It is supercharging your performance because it's allowing you to utilize the full capacity of the brain machine that we've all been given.
Oh my goodness. I need in. I know,
no kidding. I'm like, 10, girl.
I need in. I'm signing up.
I mean, I know I'm really passionate about it and I know like, and I'm not even over exaggerating. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, I'm passionate, but like, this is just like the tip of the iceberg of how good meditation is. It's why people get so evangelical because they're like, wait a minute, what? Like, this is the thing I've been looking for.
I know. How did I not know about this?
Because I think I think honestly, it's been wrapped in like caftans and incense and patchouli for a few decades. And so everyone's been like allergic to it. But now that neuroscience is starting to catch up, now I think people are starting to out themselves. And so people are talking about it more.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. We could listen to you all day. Well, I could anyway.
Me too.
But our time is up. But Emily, where can people find you? Because I'm pretty sure they're going to want to after listening to you.
Yes. So if people want to join the online meditation training, that is Ziva, Ziva, mind, like your mind.com. So zivamind.com is our online meditation training. And then if people want to just, learn more about me and the company, and we have like hundreds of videos, they can go to zivameditation.com. So either of those sites are great. And we're all over the, social media.
Love it. Well, I'm joining up.
Yay! I would love that. It would be such an honor to share this with you.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us and taking the time to share with our lovely ladies that love to learn more about how they can improve their lives. Hopefully everyone can join us again next week for more Girl Talk on menstrual. But in the meantime, if your hormones are screaming for more, well, first of all, you're going to learn to meditate. But then you're also going to check back at our previous Period Party episodes. And, of course, if you love what you hear, please take just 3 seconds to rate the podcast on iTunes. But until then, thanks to Emily and Nicole. We will speak to you next time.
Yes. Thank you, Emily.
My pleasure. Bye, friends.
All right. Bye.
Bye.